There we go. Now everybody should be able to hear. What's going on, Raymond and Lynn? Hey, Lynn, come up here and get these lights. I've been meaning to message you. I'm in the process of trying to clean up my office a bit, and yeah, I have a bunch of lights for you. Or not a bunch, I've got two. Got some other stuff to go with them. So, I don't have any agenda so much for this one. I'm just here to help anyone. I've got time. I know I'm still getting messages from some of the attendees from SPAC who are needing assistance or support. Been doing the one-on-ones with them and helping everyone I can. So I figured I just have some office hours and let anybody pop in to see something, learn something, ask questions. That's really all I'm going to be doing. I don't even have any jobs I can work on during this. Only thing I can do is code on my app. That's really all I can do. But hopefully everybody's having a good day. Raymond, good to see you. All right, Lynn, let me know. I can probably meet you halfway if you want. Make it easy. Yeah, right. This glam wizard I'm working on is going to be really nice. Should make comps a whole lot easier. So I'm actually going to rename it. It's going to be Comp Kit, and it's going to be all tools for use with comps. I'm going to try and make it to where it's has options so that you can choose how you want to use it. It should be really good. What do we want? Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember right after spec, you had one or two issues that you reached out for, but hey, that's amazing. Figuring it out. That's what we're here for. Try to help everyone we can. All right, Excel tips on filling out Excel. So, Dan, let's see. Let's see if we want to fill out. Do I have a job I can pick from? I'm sure I do. Here, you know what? Let's go over here and let me find an old job and I will show you kind of the long way that I used to do before I started using the PDZ toolkit, which I'm not trying to sell anybody on. I want you to learn the hard way first, um, and then we will, at a later time, go over the really easy way of doing it. Let's see, what do I got? Here we go. I got one of these. This one, maybe it's gonna open up somewhere. There it is. All right, give me just a second. That's delete that. Delete those because I don't want to include certain information, obviously, in a broadcast. So, all right, Dan, whenever you're filling out a CSV, what all are you trying to get out of it? Like, are you doing names with your templates? Are you doing different groups? Are you doing different leagues altogether and try to do it in one run? What all are you trying to include so I know how best to navigate this with you? It's, it's, I'll just do these right. Okay. So here is a CSV, very simple, copy and paste a lot. So if you're going to be building this, and you're not using a product like the PDZ toolkit, which does it for you, unfortunately, you're going to have to do a lot of copying and pasting. That's really just kind of the nature of the beast. So if I were to convert this over into a spa CSV, right? First thing I'm going to do is set this to filter. I'll probably sort by group just because I like to have all my groups together. It really makes it easy. Um, this is not the right CSV now that I'm looking at it. We need a CSV that has all of our images in it as well. Give me just a second. This one, does it have images? Nope. All right, let me go pull it from another job. Yep, this one will have it. I'm going to use a stripped down version. We'll just do. Nope, not that one. There's not enough teams on it. I have the full one. Yep, there we go. Get rid of the. Sure, this will be fine. Okay. So, yep, copy paste a lot. That's typically what you're going to run into. So this is a direct export out of Got Photo. But this can work with pretty much any export. So as you know, if you've used SPA before, your very first column name has to be SPA. So first thing I'm going to do is just rename that to SPA. First name, last name, those are also Pixnub ready column names that you're going to use. Me personally, I like to capitalize. There's nothing in these three columns. You don't need them, so I'm just going to delete them. And then these three I don't need either. We have an identifier, which is technically the team name. Or nope, our group is the team name. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that the team name. So remember, whenever you're dealing with Pixnub, anything you need is going to be in here. This is the sports photo automation CSV data. To get there, you just go to tutorials, go to sports photo automation, and then the CSV file setup. And in here, it has a list of all of your text replacement column names, how to do your auto text rescaling if you want to do that, but that's not going to be in your CSV. This is actually set up in your template itself. These are going to be your additional CSV options for pretty much what you're going to be importing, how to save the file off, stuff like that. So keep this handy. I have it set up as a hyperlink up here. That makes it super easy for me to get to if I can't remember exactly, like, I use template file personally. But let's say I couldn't remember if there was a space or not. Just come here. You'll see exactly what you need. So I know, looking at this, the identifier I don't really need because I have everything right here in my team. It doesn't hurt anything to leave it though, as long as this is not a recognized column with SPA. It's not going to hurt it to leave it there. Whenever you import it into Photoshop, it's going to be like, hey, there's a column that is in your CSV that we don't recognize. And that's a two-part thing. One is just letting you know it's there. But two, you can look through those columns and be like, why does it not recognize like first space name? And you're like, oh, it's supposed to be first name with no space. So if you accidentally had a space in it, that would kind of tell you, hey, there's an error in your column naming. Go fix it before you move forward. So that's kind of a two-part thing. But just having this here as identifier is not going to hurt anything. Now I'm going to gear it around running multiple templates because that's typically what everybody's goal is, right? To run an entire job with no, without having to run multiple batches. Just run it all in one batch. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Sports Photo Automation, hey, this template, when you're creating this image, right? Because it treats every image, every line item as its own individual image. It's like when you're working with this image, I want to use this file. So let's go and pick a file name. I just gotta paste it there. And from there, I know I'm going to run the same template for all of them. So yes, unfortunately, you got that copy paste thing. Okay. Does an empty row cause a problem? For example, if you have this right here, right? So if line 26 is empty, no, it does not cause a problem. It will just skip it. It will keep going until it gets to the end of the file. All right. And if you really want to know the end of the file, just if you're curious or bored and you want to see it, you can go to view page break view, right? And let's say up here I added something right here, or if I added some right here, it doesn't matter. It's going to keep going until it gets to the very bottom, right? So it's going to keep going until it gets to right here. So it doesn't matter how many of these you have in there, all right? Empty rows do not make a problem. And that's a good thing because I put empty rows in there all the time. It actually helps me with viewing the data. And I'm going to do that here in a second. So I know I need the template file, so I'll throw a template file name in there. But then me personally, I always do an append file name, okay? And I'm going to append the file name with, I like to go as part of the template name or something that tells me what is that file. Like I do 45T. The 45T is going to tell me that this template, when this image is created, that is going to be a 4:5 ratio with text on it. All right. And so I'm going to just do that and copy it all the way down. Sometimes what I'll do is before I do that piece, before I do this piece right here, I'll go ahead and do this because it's going to be the same for both. So append file name, and I know that it's going to be a 4:5. Then I'll just copy this, come all the way down, paste, and it does everything. So the next thing is, let's say I want to run another template. In order to do that, I need to copy all of my data because my data is not going to change. And yeah, I'll leave a few rows if I want. I typically leave one, but it's not going to hurt if you leave a few. And so the trick here is you don't know what these column names are. You can come all the way up here, click on like the A2, go to view, freeze panes. You can just freeze the top row or freeze panes and it's going to freeze wherever you're at. So now if you look when I scroll down, all of my column names are still at the top. So I know what I'm. So this one, I'm going to run a different template. Let's run hang time. Okay. So I'm going to paste it in there. And I ran into this issue with somebody here recently. They couldn't get the template to load right. Okay. And what happened is they did not have the extension on there. You need to have the extension. Otherwise, it's looking for a file expecting an extension because sports photo automation, you can use TIFF images, you can use Photoshop documents. If you don't tell it what to look for, it's not going to know what to look for. It's going to look for a file where this is the whole name, and file systems don't work like that. You got to have an extension. So for the hang time, it's also going to be a 4.5T, but I don't want to have duplicate names, okay? The append file name is actually going to be your final, when it's saved off, it's going to be this underscore 45t dot jpeg. Oh. All right. So if it's the same thing here, right? It's going to, instead of doing this, it's going to see it already exists, and it might just do -2. Now, if that works for you, that's fine. Personally, that's not how I do it because I want to be able to differentiate the difference between these two. So instead of doing 45t, I might do 45t hang time. So now when this is saved, my final name of that image is going to be that. And that's going to help me differentiate. And if I wanted to keep it consistent between the two, I would name this neon, because that is from a neon template and this is from my hang time template. All right. And then same thing here, copy, paste it down. Boom. So now I have this template with nearly 3,000 rows in it. It is ready to run two different templates. Now that's really easy for these types. When you start doing memory mates, that's where it gets a little trickier, and it's actually more unfortunate because you can't just copy and paste with that. And the reason is because you're dealing with different teams, and not every team is going to have the same team image. So let's go ahead and do a memory mate version. All right, I'm going to leave a few rows. And then I need to go pull a memory mate. We are going to run, for the purpose of this one, we are going to run a hang time memory mate. And this is my append file name. Well, how do I want to append my file name? I'm going to do I like to do memory. I like to do mem. If you use .photo and use _mm, it's going to automatically mark it as a composite. If you do _mem, it won't mark it as a composite. So you can better control your pricing that way if you choose to. All right. So the difference between a memory mate and the regular images is we have to add a column. So up here in column 1, the extra column we need is your team file. So team space file. And again, if you come back here, right here, use to define the team file for the memory mate template. Reference a team folder selected in the batch settings window. Name must contain the file extension. All right. So this is where it gets a little bit trickier as far as how you want to handle your team naming. So I know that this needs to be the same all the way down. So I can go ahead and update. You got two different options here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to start my filters. Because I know I'm already done with these first two templates, so I'm going to hide them. I don't need my hang time template and I don't need my neon template. So now all I see are my memory mates. So the two different options of doing this is, let's say, it goes into your naming convention. If you want to name JG Wings, so let's say, or we'll start with BB Lakers because it's at the top. So I filter on BB Lakers, and I know that that team name is BB space Lakers mm.jpg. Paste it down. All right, so now I've finished with that one. Let's move on to the next one. Rinse, repeat. That takes a lot of time. So what I did is I get into a habit of using the same team name as my memory mate, um, same team name as my memory mate file, team file. And what that does is it gives me the ability, I'm going to clear out this again. Those, is that the only ones? Yeah. That gives me the ability, so if I name my team file the same as my team name, whether it's jg-girls.jpg or jg-girls_mm.jpg, I know that I can now use a function to do all this for me. So I'm going to use a concatenate function. So I'm going to hit equals, and then I'm going to do my team name. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Equals concat team name, and then I can do .jpg. So now I can copy this all the way down. And as long as when I'm creating my teams for my memory mates, I am consistent, I have all of my team names like that. Now, let's say that you can't do it that way. Let's say that your team image that you put on your memory mate is not the same team image that you sell as like the normal team image, right? And so you got to differentiate the two. So what I would do here is jgwings.jpg is my overall team image. That is what I sell as the team image. And that has like your team name, your organization name, and everything on there. But let's say your memory mate already has a place for your team name in your organization. So you don't want it to be on the overall memory mate template and also be in the little team images brought in. So you would save your memory mate, the team image for your memory mate off differently. And so I would do the same thing. I would just do concat. I would name it this, and then I would just add -mm, then .jpg. So now you can see, and once again, it all goes down to consistency and workflow. If I do it this way, why did it do that? Oh, I did the wrong one. Yep, hold on. See, I did the wrong one. This needs to be moved over to the team name. And then I can scroll all the way down. That looks better. And then the last step to this is two different things. So like right now you can see it's still got a function in here. I don't really want to do that. So what I can do is I can copy, right click, and then paste. Select all this. Copy. And then I just want to right click and I want to paste the values. So now I don't have a function in there anymore. This is actually going to be readable by Pixnub. Now, once I do that, I can select all my templates again. So now I have two 4x5 templates I'm going to run, as well as a memory mate that has my team file. This does take time, but it's important to understand how to build this for what you need. So to get started, I recommend at least having these two. So you got your spa, and then your template file, and then your pin file name. Your pin file name is not required. However, I highly recommend it just for organization and how you want to keep consistency in your naming conventions. But I would have these two. As soon as you want to add a memory mate, the only thing you have to do in addition is create a team file. And then if you want to do post actions, for example, if you want to run colors with these, Then you would over here just create post action 1. And then you would go back into here and start filtering and filling it in as you need. So let's say for the hang time, and let's say we're going to go with the Lakers, right? Post action, let's say it'll be hang time purple. I think the Lakers are purple. I don't follow sports. You can hold it against me. I don't mind. And you would have to build it that way. So I know it's fairly tedious, but hopefully by watching me go through it, you can see how it builds on as you're building. Does that help at all, Dan, or did I just lose you? Let me know. But that is the creating a CSV by hand. It's just going to be time consuming. Oh yeah, filter is phenomenal, and it's great too. So like right now, it's not filtered. Okay, so it's two different things. I recommend doing the view and freeze panes. You freeze your top row. That way you can always see your columns as you scroll down. You know what you're working on. Because sometimes like you have team file, you might have spot text 1, you might have your number for your jersey number. Then you have your post action 1, post action 2, you might have a folder. And so as you're working through all these, and they're all getting filled in, like you want to know what these columns are doing. So the view and the freeze panes I recommend. And as far as the filter goes, you can just click on filter, and it'll automatically apply a filter to make all of the columns available where you can filter and sort. And it's good. So let's say you want to sort on your image names, right? Just hit sort A to Z. Or if you're looking for a specific person, or if you want to do girls or the people in first name order, or if you want to do sort by teams. This gives you a way to go down and sort everything appropriately. Or if you know that you need to do something different with the bulls, right? So you got those bulls, you've got the JR bulls, you have the SR bulls. I think that's all the bulls that we have. But let's say you have these bulls right here and you want to run that post action on all of them. So we're just going to say it's some action red because the bulls are red, right? And them all the way down. And that's a lot of bulls. Oh, I didn't actually filter them, did I? I didn't. Oh, I did. Okay. So that's an issue with the filter. It looks like if you do it that way. Notice it put all the bulls at the top, but it didn't. As soon as I had a space in there, that was an error. So what we can do is, let me go back to where before I filtered. How I filter, and I usually don't run into that issue, is I will highlight all the columns and then I will filter. Because what it did is it actually treated from here, where's that first block, to here as its own data table, its own data range. And that's not what I want. I want everything in these columns to be filtered. So now, and I hope since I'm live streaming, it's not going to be wrong, but I'm going to do these bulls, those bulls. Yeah, there we go. So now that's just all the bulls. So two different ways to call your filter. Highly recommend, as you saw here, to highlight the columns, then click on filter. That way, if you have any breaks, it's not going to just filter out. It's not going to work with just until you hit that first break. It'll work with your entire data set. All right, and then so that lets me select all the bulls. Now I can fill in a post action for just the bulls. And then when you're done, you can go to filter, clear all filters, and it'll bring everything back. Or you just click here where you did the initial filter, clear filters. Or if you're working by name, like let's say I just did all the Lakers, just uncheck the Lakers, move on to the Mavericks, fill in whatever you need, uncheck the Mavericks, do so on, so forth. It's a tedious process. And that is why it's good to know. Like, you need to learn the long way and the hard way to do it, because if you know how to do it, that is going to let you be able to troubleshoot. There are aftermarket tools that you can use to build your CSVs. For example, the Photo Day Zombies toolkit will build your CSV for you. It's really easy to use. However, everybody's workflow is different. And if for some reason the output from whatever program you use isn't exactly what you need to be able to go into here and figure out what's not working. So as much as it sucks to do all this by hand, it's really good information to know, but also at the same time, it's even better to be able to run an entire league while you sleep or you go out for another shoot or do whatever. This thing's working for you at home, all because your CSV is driving your automation. Do you have another reason not to offer memory mates? Memory mates aren't bad. It just depends on how you want to run them. Let's see. Have I done memory mates recently? I did an I9 league not too long ago. God, it has been a while back, hasn't it? Finished. We run. Here, actually, this is a pretty good example. So, like, this is the memory mate that I offered for. Oh, there. That's the memory mate. So that's the 4x5 that I offered. And then that is how I did the memory mates. And these kids were adorable. But that is not going to be the team picture that I give out, right? So if I show you in my teams, this was the team image. So PWBB01. And this is what I used for my memory mates. Now, notice up here, and you probably can't even see it, but the name is just added with an underscore mm. I bring up my, there it is. I do have a sync. Give me just a second. I want to make sure that I don't have any info in here that I don't need to be showing online, like all of the parents' information. So here is the data, right? So I've got the images, I got the names, and then this is the group. Now you can't really do the slashes in the names for the team names. So let's see. What I did is I just replaced the slashes with underscores. That way I can have the consistency. So like for my test run, that's not a good one, but it's actually in here. You can see like right here, that's your Rangers multisport. This is a semicolon delimited. That's why it looks like this. But we go down somewhere in here. There's going to be a memory mate. And it's going to have this one right here. So this is your Rangers Multisport Vertical Memory Mate. Okay. And right here, you have flag football underscore MM. But my team name is going to be similar. All I did is I replaced the forward slash with a dash, and then I added underscore MMPNG. And that's where the consistency comes in. We did change the semicolon to. It helps if you have data that comes in with commas in it. Like it'll give me a last name, comma, first name, and it just throws off a whole CSV. But your consistency, as I was saying, if I do a mass replace of a forward slash with a dash, okay, and I'm then just appending underscore MM to the team file, then as I'm building my CSV, I can just use that concatenate function and I'll just blow through it. So that helps me be able to generate the CSVs really quickly as long as you have a consistent naming convention. So if I go into here in this other one that I was working with, and I was using something else for the team files, like instead of doing JR Sons, I was doing JR Sons, JR Sons team file dot JPEG or something like that. And then my SR Pelicans was actually like SR dash SR space Pelicans team.jpg. Like if I'm doing something different for every team, you're just making it harder on your, because then you're preventing the ability to use streamlining tools such as a function to build your team name in a CSV. So do yourself a favor whenever you're building these team names or these memory mate files, just if you can keep it the exact same as this. And add .jpg. Or with the -mm or whatever you need. I do it again. Did I select the wrong column? I probably did. Because I'm live streaming. No, I did. Nice. Okay. Yeah, do it this way. You're going to be able to really streamline things. Is there anything else you wanted to see? Unfortunately, when you're filling out your CSV by hand, to my knowledge, unless you're using another tool, or there are ways to use like ChatGPT. I know some people have utilized ChatGPT to build their CSVs for them. I haven't done that personally, but that is another option. I believe with ChatGPT, if you pay for it, you can actually feed it a file and pretty much tell them, hey, for every image that's in here, I need you to create another column named template file, and I want you to use these three. And it'll actually go through and build it for you. See, anyone else out there have any questions, or is there anything else you want to see? CSV building is probably one of the things that a lot of people struggle with. Um, So it's good that we definitely kind of covered it in here. I'm hoping people were actually able to tune in and watch if they struggle with it. But it's really just important to understand that a CSV is just honestly a set of instructions. So it's data, all the text images, all these up here, these are not so much instructions. This is just data that it wants to be put into the template. But all these down here are actually instructions. Okay. When you use the subfolder, you are telling Pixnub, hey, when you save this thing off, I want you to put it in this subfolder. Hey, when you need to load a team file for this row or this image, I want you to use this team file. I want you to use this template file when you load everything. Before you save it off, I want you to hide these layers or show these layers. Before you pull that PNG or that extraction into my image, I want you to run this pre-action on it. And then before you save it off, I want you to use this post action on it. All these down here are essentially instructions. And if you've ever sat in on any of my presentations, I always say your automation is only as powerful as your CSV. Because your CSV drives everything. If your CSV is wrong, Pixnub is going to perform flawlessly and not give you what you wanted because you told it wrong. Um, I think another demo that I thought about doing just because until somebody else pops in on something that they want to see is how to run dual images in a CSV. Because there seems to be a lot of questions or a lot of trouble with using two images in a single CSV. So let's go and run one of those. Do I have? I might actually already have that demo somewhere. Third. Let's look at the multiple player images. All right. So this is the lovely Heat Check by Third Creative, Don Ward. I use a lot of his stuff. It's always amazing. And this is what we're going to use for our current template. So first thing I'm going to do is just kind of get rid of the stuff that I don't want. Our finished image is going to look like this. We got his name here. You might recognize this where Jax Teller came from. Awesome. It's one of my favorite series. But so you got Jax Teller down here. Yeah, initial image here. This is my player 1 file. And then up here, I've got a player 2 file. So you can see just by looking at this, I've got player 1 and player 2, but not everyone knows how to set that up. So I'm actually going to delete this one. And then I'm going to go through and delete the top one. Mode 1, going to delete. So here we have that here, there, and then I gotta look closer because I need to find where the other player is. Is it this one? Oh, there's that one. Okay, but it's going to go in here in the lower image. I don't have that player. So let's go ahead and just add our players. I'm going to turn him off. So we're going to go under Sports Photo Automation, and we're going to go to set up our PSD. That's what we're doing, setting it up. I want to add, I'm going to use player slot 1, but instead of alignment mode 1, I want to use alignment mode 2. Alignment mode 2 gives me the ability to really control how tall they are, right? It's got a crosshair that shows me where the face is going to be, and I know I want his feet to be right around, pretty much, maybe right around here, or down, maybe down here. I'd have to import one in first to see. But I like to use mode 2. So mode 1, it just gives you a square around the face. So if you have a kid with like a really short body and a really big head, looks like he belongs on the set of Up, then whenever you try to position him where you want him, you might actually have more of his feet showing than what you really want, because Pixnub has sized him by his head, but his feet are now like way up here. Using the second one, which has the crosshair, it's going to put his face right where that crosshair is, and it's going to pretty much enlarge him until the feet goes right where the bottom line is. So I like to use 2 for something like this. I'm going to click on Add Player Layer Group. And again, see they got that red line on the bottom right here. And you got that crosshair in the top. So I'm going to resize this because he is way too big for what I'm looking for. Make him about that. Okay. Now, whenever you add something, it typically always puts them at the very top. It's not where I want them. So down here, I have a lower subject or single subject option. I'm going to drop them in there. And that's going to apply my gradient effect, my filters. Center him up again. All right, so that's my player 1 file. In player slot 1, you can't have the same slot for multiple players. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to slot 2. And this top piece, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm still going to make them big, so I'll keep it as alignment mode 2 for now. Add player layer group. And again, this is going to use facial recognition, which means my face is always going to be centered, and that's kind of what I'm going for. So I kind of like how big he is right there. I'm just going to leave it. And then I need to move this down into the folder where I need it to be. Sample double subject layer. That's where I wanted him. I think I took him out of the folder. There we go. He's in there. Now it kind of looks weird right here because it's all green, but he's actually. So something we can do is you can actually add a custom player image. So now that we have this in here, this is not the most accurate visual that we can have. So what I could do is go back to mode 1, alignment mode 2, and I'm going to add a custom player image. So let me go find extraction here. I'm going to add a player custom image. It is a cutout. I'm going to find it, and I'm just going to pick one. Which one do I want to use? We're on mode 1, so it's the bottom one. Let's put in that one. Okay, so now you see it's kind of centered his head. His head is turned, so it's not perfectly centered, but it's a lot closer than it could have been otherwise. Like how that works. So now let's look at our alignment, our player 2, add player layer, add custom player image, also a cutout. Same kid, just do them on this one. I already see an error or an issue. He is not supposed to be there. So I need to put him in the right area. And this is all part of just building your CSV templates. Okay, that's where. I'm going to grab the whole folder. Make sure you grab the whole folder. Let's move him down to where he's supposed to be. There we go. So now I've got my two player slots, and my template is ready to go. So I actually have here, I've got my last name -rm. -rm is for your resizing. If it is smaller, for example, if his last name is Cox, it's not going to make it bigger. Okay, so with -rm, it does not enlarge, it will only shrink. So if you have Martinez, right? So Martinez is going to go off the edges. It's actually going to shrink it, make it bigger, or shrink it so it fits. Cox, it's going to leave it small. It's not going to make it bigger. And then if you did -r, so last name -r right here, then it would actually enlarge it as well. Okay. I've got my last name set. I have my first name set, and then the year is also set. So we can save that off. That is saved. And then we can go back and take a look at our template. And we're going to build a template from scratch. Okay. So let's take a look at our extractions. Right here, I have 2 images per kid. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select every other one. And I'm going to copy the file names. And we're going to start building our template. So for spa, first thing you ever need is the spa column. That is going to be your player 1 slot. As we set up, I'm going to paste my images in. Now, for this one, we also need a player 2 slot. So that's going to be player 2 file. And then I'm going to go in here and you can actually invert your selection. Options, copy file names. So now you can see in this first one, right? 493 and 496 should go together. So there's my 493. That's my 496. 4700, 4703, 4700, 4703. Our data is lining up. And then how I like to do it, I always run mine with a template file and append file names. These are not required because when we are running this in the batch processing, you can actually set it up in here. So your file naming, you can actually append file name here. And then for the template file, you just select your template file here. So you don't need to do it in the CSV. It's my habit. It's my way of being consistent in everything that I'm doing. So this is what I do. So I need to go into here and I want to pull my template name with extension. And then I'm just going to call this vert poster. The vertical poster. So now I go in here to my extractions folder. That's what I want. My save folder is going to be under, let's say, finished live for our live stream demo. What template are we going to use? I want to use the heat check template. And then I want to load my CSV. Did I not save it? Oh, oops. Let's load this again. There we go. Data file's been loaded. I had an extra column in there I had to go delete. And then from there, we're going to pause on the finished image. Now, what I didn't include, now that I'm looking at it, is we didn't include names. So it's always going to be the default of whatever's on the template. To do the names, you would actually put your first name and last name in the CSV, building it the same way we did before. The only difference in what we did before and what we did now is we added this one column. We've covered all the other columns. This is the only difference for running this particular CSV. Now, let's say that we wanted to run memory mates with all of these, right? And this is another column that, or another question that people normally talk about, or they ask, but they don't really understand. If I wanted to run a heat check memory mate, okay, these, we'll say it's underscore MEM. We need to add our theme file. We're going to say this is footballteam.jpg. There is nothing wrong with having your CSV look like this. All right, we're just going to say this is going to be your 4-5 vertical. And what I kind of wanted to show here, we'll say 45 MT with no text because I'm not doing names. And I think what people aren't really understanding is that you can run multiple. So I've got 3 different templates here. And notice I've got empty columns within those templates. If it's blank, that's fine. It's not gonna break anything. It's only gonna use it if it's there. So in this memory mate, I don't have a player 2 file. I don't need a player 2 file. I just leave it blank. Same with this vertical. This vertical is an individual image, so I don't have a player 2 file. But this 1x2 vertical is a dual image, so it needs that player 2 file. So again, if you look at it as a whole, it's got empty things, but remember, Pixnub reads it one line at a time. It's handling it individually. So if it gets here and it says, okay, I'm going to load this memory mate, then I'm going to load this image, and I'm going to upload this team file, it doesn't have a player 2 file, so it's just going to ignore it. And it's just going to run on that way. So that's how you can do a 2-image vertical poster. All you're doing is adding one extra column, and that's your player 2 file. And in here, you just add a player 2 mode, whatever. So you're using the player 2 slot. Anybody else popped in that hasn't or has any questions or struggling with any workflows? Hopefully everybody's having a good day and everything with Pixnub is clicking for them. Run through jobs and saving so much time. What else can I cover? Raymond, you still out there? You got any ideas? What would the people like to see? Where's my editing hat? You know what? This is one of my editing hats. And then, oh, let's see. Come on. Ugh. I have this one, Photo Day Zombies. And then the amazing guy, Don Ward, he gave me an editing hat, which I have this one as well. But I also have, because it's a winter, there's literally snow outside. So I have a editing beanie. Yeah, I got my editing beanie. It works. Now, I really look like Don Ward. I have a picture of it's me and Don Ward, and honestly, we could probably pass as brothers. It's crazy. Yeah, no, I mean, I could probably. I think me and him, if we did a joint video, it'd be kind of awesome. I really like the quality of his hat too. I like it. Yeah, this is definitely an editing hat for sure. If you follow my YouTube channel, you'll see that I always give him props and shout outs and definitely try to provide my support to him. He gives us phenomenal templates. Yeah, I really want to use the office hours more so to help people who are struggling with their workflows in one way or another. Um, I'm not here to push anything. I just want to get people to where they need to be able to get the workflows going the way they want. Or if there's something they don't understand. I do plan on having a webinar or live stream where I am going to showcase my software that really helps build or streamline your post production, especially if you use something like Got Photo, using them tagged or barcodes or QR codes. I have a way to speed up that entire process. Um, let's see. Let me go back into here. Tutorials. I think everybody who might be here is good with Easy Team Builder. Background swapper is pretty easy. I can actually post. So let me share. I think. Do I want to share that? I will go over it. I don't know if everybody saw my. Honestly, Dan, I think so. Fridays are probably going to be best for me. It's a fairly light workload for my career gig, so around lunchtime, I'm going to be trying to have these office hours. I know that Damon and Alyssa were looking at doing a similar thing. They were going to do like an office hours webinar, but I asked for his permission to basically do my own office hours because I wanted to help people within the Pixnub group. So I have everything set up. I'm going to probably fix my setup and layout and everything, but yeah, I want to make this a normal thing because honestly, as anybody who's worked with me or I've helped before, I just enjoy helping people. So yes, this is going to be a regular scheduled thing. I'm going to try and do at least once a month, but I actually might try and do every other week. I think that might be my goal. And if there's anything that anybody wants to see, or like if you just honestly want to go over a workflow, then I'm more than happy to do that too. I know we've had a few new users join Pixnub. I've been seeing their posts come across, and they want to know how to get started. They're new to maybe volume photography, and so I would have zero issues with really discussing workflow. Some people are having issues. I'm trying to think. Somebody reached out trying to figure out how to create a CSV with, what was it? They couldn't get an export. I think they just had images. Oh, so they had images with data that did not have any way to link everything together. Um, so what I mean is, if you've used Got Photo and you upload your roster, well, they got a roster, but they didn't upload it to Got Photo, which means they didn't have QR cards, they didn't use barcodes, they didn't use them tagged. Pretty much what I think, if I recall correctly, they did is they had a whiteboard and they wrote down the name on the whiteboard and pretty much took a picture of it. Well, that's fine if you're doing but that just means they have to do everything by hand. So they're having to, after the fact, go through and be like, okay, well, all these images belong to this kid, and all these images belong to this kid. And it was I want to say it was a decent sized league. It was like 50 teams. So what I've been trying to talk with them is trying to get them on board with using, at minimum, a QR code workflow, because that doesn't involve any additional cost. You just got to print paper. Um, Whereas if you use and tagged or if you do barcode, that involves an additional cost up front. But if I can get them using a QR code, then that's going to significantly increase their workflow. And that's Pixnub is a tool that we use to really streamline all the, like, yeah, photo day zombies is because I don't want to feel like a zombie, right? It's all about workflow. It's all about consistency. It's all about streamlining processes. So if I can help them not become zombies, then I feel like I'm doing something well. So I don't want to just talk about Pixnub in these office hours. I'll literally talk about anything. I'm not an expert. I will just help in any way that I can. Any other questions? What you guys up to out there? I stopped making memory mates as Photo Day only has global settings and people can order them as a 5x7. So now, if you, I have another question on that one. So you stopped offering memory mates because they can order by a 5x7. Now, is that because it's from a, like a profit type reason you stopped, or is it because the way your memory mates are, a 5x7 is going to be cutting off part of the team images and things, or cutting off some text and stuff like that? Or is this strictly a profit related decision? Curious about that one. Because if you are making that decision because it's cutting off text, then there is a way around that using the ratio guides. But also, let's say you offer an 8x10, don't design in an 8x10, design it in an 8x12. Then your vertical is not going to be cut off. If you design in an 8x10, so 8x10, mainly profit. Okay, perfect. But continuing on with my thought, if you design it in 8x10 and somebody orders a 5x7, then it's actually going to bring in the top and bottom, which means if you have text at the bottom or text at the top, you're more likely to get cut off. So you design in an 8x12, then whenever you're going to do a 5x7, it's actually going to bring in the sides. So nothing at the top or bottom is going to be touched. Because they get into images. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I know quite a few photographers are that way as well. They won't offer memory maze. They'll do team images and then they'll just do individuals. I know a lot of photographers. It's actually more common than I thought it would be. They don't even put the player names on the templates. Um, like if you take a look at a lot of the images, I believe John Riviera puts out on Facebook that I've noticed, he doesn't put player names on his. And The good thing about doing it that way is you don't have to deal with the CSV most of the time because you can run. So if we go back over to here, right, and I pull up Photoshop, I'm going to stop this batch. I'm not here to finish running yet. We covered what we wanted to. Um, Not set up. If you go to batch processing, you don't have to run this at all. You can just pick a template, an images folder, and a save folder, and you can append if you want to, and it'll work fine. So you're able to run through an entire batch of just images with no CSV, and you end up getting great results. Oh yeah. Schools, leagues, they will. An issue I had with a recent league, that league disbanded, but I would get the league roster and like they would have not the wrong names, but they would have like the kid's formal name on there, and like his name would be William, right? But he goes by Billy, and so the parents would be like, "Is there any way that we can like?" Nobody calls him William. He's never been called William. He's always been a Billy. Can we? It's just more work on the back end. But hey, with no names, you don't have to worry about it. I think I actually did a league recently with no names on it. It definitely helps for sure. So today you can build your own memory made, but don't like the designs. We've had another client who uses us for his photo post production, back end photo editing, and they said the same thing. They're just they want the wow factor, and the memory mates in Photo Day are just not it. And so yeah, I pointed him to. I'll be honest, I pointed him to Third Creative to look at their templates from Don Ward, and they had quite a few. They really enjoyed what he made, and then I also had him look at what was it, PSM Graphics? I think some of his templates or their templates, and Josh Hanna. But they want the wow factor, and you're not the only one who says the Photo Day is doesn't have the best designs. For individuals, we use Pixnub and only design a footer on the bottom. Upload PNG to Photo Day, and parents can pick their own background. Okay. I know in Got Photo you can do the same thing. Um, there is a background folder. You know a oh, okay. I don't chat. I'll get to you in just a second. I'm going to read that out. But yeah, whether you use Photo Day or you use Got Photo, Got Photo also has like a repository for backgrounds you can upload. And so some of what I've done is, yeah, some of the templates I've purchased from Don Ward, I will go and strip it down to just the background, and then I'll upload that. And so I'll change a few colors, like if it's got color options, um, then I will go make a few different colors as well as like the simple blacks and whites so that it'll match every color. Um, and the parents can pick those. But yeah, that's definitely a good way to allow the parents to have more options. All right, Chad, do you know if there is a way to do headshots using multiple backgrounds, but only have to adjust the subject photo once using Pixnub? Bring the photo into Pixnub, make size and replacement adjustments, and then make multiple versions of that using different backgrounds instead of having to adjust the subject for each background. Just curious. My initial thought is yes. I'm trying to best understand exactly what you're looking for. So, if you want the placement of, there's a few different ways of doing it. I'm trying to think the best way to guide you. There's a way to do headshots using multiple backgrounds, using only having to adjust the subject photo once using Photoshop. So bring the photo into Pixnub, make size and placement adjustments, and then make multiple versions of that using different backgrounds. Honestly, I would do it. So if you're doing headshots, obviously you are not doing names or anything. I would just use sports photo automation personally, using a so let's look. Let's just create. I'm trying to think. I don't really do headshot backgrounds. Print photo width. We'll say 10. All right. If you're doing headshots, how's the best to do this? So, okay, background swapper is not a bad way to do it. The only thing with background swapper is you're going to have to run face crop first because background swapper will not place it left or right. So, for example, and I actually have an example of this. Let me bring it up. If I go to my demo, I go to background swapper, other, finished. Nope, not that one. This one? Full size. Okay, so for example, if you take a look at these, right? This girl is left aligned. So you're going to have to run a face crop first so that they're going to be centered up. And if it gets loud, I'm sorry, my kids are shutting home from school. Hey guys, hold on, I'm doing a live stream, okay? Yeah, out. You'll be fine. So you're gonna have to run face crop first because what that's going to do is it's going to center everything up. So if we go to the extracts like this, right? She's actually centered up and it's going to be fine. But if you have these that are left aligned, then the final image is going to be left aligned. And that's not going to be what you want because then your headshot, she's going to be left aligned. So yes, two-step process. If you want to use background swapper, run it through face crop first, and then run it through your background swapper. That's one way of doing it. The other is to go into here, and I would actually go to your setup PSD one, and then I would probably use layer mode 1 here as well. And then what you want to do is just size accordingly for some sort of headshot, right? And then you can set up your background to whatever you wanted. So let's see if I go over here to, where's my snap? I have resources, backgrounds, let's see. Sure. I'm going to throw this in here, right? I'm going to do that. Put that on top. So let's say that's going to be my headshot there. I would save this off as my headshot. And then I would create multiple templates with the different backgrounds that I want. And you can do it all at once. So either way, it's a multi-step process, but it's still a process that you can do and you can streamline. So if you use face crop, then you would basically just run that first. Have you used face crop before, Chad? So face crop's going to give you that consistency. You have not used it before? All right. Well, I've got a really simple demo that I can do face crop. So let's say that we have, let's go to my demos, and then where's my face crop demo? That's my face crop. Here's my, all right, so I'm just going to use, I do a lot of sports, so I have sports girls everywhere. So if we go to the presets, let's say we got a thigh up. So if these are presets so I can test it, and it's going to go ahead and crop everything for me into exactly what I'm looking for. All right, so that's a thigh up crop. But let's say I just wanted like a distance headshot of an 8x10. I just hit test again, and it's going to crop it to exactly what I'm looking for. So I can actually turn this down some. Let's say I want her head to be a little bit smaller, right? Change this to 40. Bring her head down a little bit. Set that top margin, I'm going to increase a little bit. Test preset. And you just keep doing this till you get the preset exactly how you want it, right? So I moved her down, made her a little bit smaller. That's a little bit too far down. So let's just set this to theme test. Yeah, just shift her up a little bit. And so let's say we want to go with that. And so I just set this to, we'll just say live test. Save it. Preset's been saved. So now I go to my batch process. I'm going to go to my source folder, which I have a small selection of images that I'm going to use in here. Face crop extracts. And these are all full-size extracts. Okay? These are my full-size extracts. I shoot full-size, so that's why I have them. So the save folder, we are going to save, and we'll say finish live. And then save format's going to be in JPEG. And then that preset we just created, live test, is going to be what I want to use. I'm going to say images or cutouts. Just going to save them as a PNG. Live test. Extracts. I'm going to hit run batch. And so what it's going to do is it's actually going to go through and save everything off. So now we can actually look in our finished live, and you see that it is already going to ensure that our image faces are centered, as well as we have the topmost margin that we had set, as well as a consistent face size. So just like that, we now have our 4 images that we can then run on, let's say, background swapper. So using background swapper, I'm going to copy these images into the background swapper finish live. Okay. These backgrounds that I have here, I only want to run it on, let's say, these 2. I'm going to do backgrounds live. So our first step was to run everything through face crop. That's the only step we've done so far. Okay. So now in backgrounds live, for our backgrounds folder, I'm going to create 2 backgrounds. Is there another background I want to use in there? Do I have another one? Nope, I'm not going to go through it right now. So we're going to do those 2. So from here, I'm going to go to my background swapper right here. Luckily, everything's been updated. So now I'm going to go to my cutouts. So my cutouts are now in this background swapper, and we have finished live. That is our cutouts folder. We're going to go select our backgrounds live. And then we are going to go to a save folder, which I'll create a new one called finished. We'll say final product. So file name append, you can add a number to it. I'm going to do the background name. And again, that kind of gives me the ability to filter after the fact if I really want. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to hit run batch. And it is running through everything. Now, let's go take a look at what was actually produced. So now I have my headshots done on each background. Love that folder organization. I mean, I have a specific way that I like to do things. Honestly, it makes it really easy. If I go over to one of my working folders, let's say, nope, not that one. I need like a, so like this is what one of my normal ones look like. I have an extracts folder with buddies, teams. Like your teams are actually done with your team images. And I have a finished folder. That's where all the finished images are. Memory mates, if you're dealing with memory mates. I must move those out already. And all of my templates are in one place. All of my CSVs are in one place. I try to be consistent with all my jobs because that makes everything really easy to do. But Chad, does that help answer how it can do that? There's a little bit of setup. You got to set up your backgrounds if you want to use background swapper. Or the other option, like Raymond was saying, is you can create each background as a spa ready template and run it in spa. If you run it in spa, you don't have to do the face crop to begin with, because when you set up your player one slot and you size it, then when it pulls in that image, it's going to size it accordingly. The way it keeps the face size consistent for each background rather than making spa. I'll take close on the consistency. Yeah. And so spa is going to be, I mean, honestly, face crop and spa are about the same as far as how it's going to recognize faces. Because like if you're looking straight on, it's really easy to figure out like the width of the head and the height of the head. But if I turn my head this way, then it's going to be a little bit off depending, because like imagine, you know, a lot of girls have like crazy hair, not crazy hair, but they have big hair. It's like wide in the back, or they might be wearing a hat that's backwards or something like that. And it might take that into consideration. So it's going to put them more left or more right. So, I mean, you're going to have that issue no matter which way you go, but these are going to get you as close to what you need as possible. Like I can run that same example through, let's just do that real quick. This shouldn't be too bad. So we'll say photo width is going to be 8, 10. We're going to do the vertical, just like Raymond was saying. We're going to run it through SPA this time. We're going to create that. And then let me go over here to my, pull that background in. Where was it? It was over here. I was in background swapper. Our background's live. We're going to run this one. We're going to make it bigger like that. And then from here, I'm going to go to my sports photo automation. And I'm going to do player mode slot 1, add player layer group. And add it at the top. Let's resize accordingly. Let's say we want them to be that big. We're going to save as go into here, new folder, live demo. Let's say BG1. So over here, I'm going to go pull our extracts, our finished live, the ones that we just did. You know what? I'm going to pull the full size demo. Okay, just so you see what we have, I pulled in these girls right here. They kind of got just regular faces. She's a mean mug in it. But we got some girls to use. And then over here in the folder, we have just BG1. I'm going to do a new folder called Finished, so we have somewhere to put our last images. And then in here, go back to your sports photo automation. I'm going to go to batch processing. Our images are going to be in here. Our save folder. Extracts large. Our save folder is going to be in finished. And our template file is going to be this template file. And just because I'm going to pause on the finished image, I don't need to do this, but I'm going to for the sake of this demo. So you can see it's going to pull in a full-size image and it's just going to place it. So that's going to be my headshot. I'm going to do the same thing for the next. I'm good with how those work. I'm just going to hit continue with no more pauses, and it's going to run through everything. Yep. And so now we go look at our finished images. We have them all right here. And as Raymond was saying, let's say we got rid of this one, right? And we're going to go get a different background. Where are my miscellaneous resources? Backgrounds. Let's say I want to run them on this background here. Okay. I'm going to save this. And then we're going to do third background on that right there. So what Raymond was saying is we can actually run the same thing again and just select a different background. So I can leave the images folder, leave the save folder. Now I can just hit background 2. I'm not even going to pause because I know it runs good. It's just changing the different background, right? And it's going to run through. Save everything off. So now if we go to our finished images, so now we have each one on 2 different backgrounds. And notice it didn't take long at all. You can actually get it to run faster if you don't use the facial recognition one. But then you would need to run it through face crop first for the consistency. But that's another way of doing it. 2 different head sizes. Yeah. Yep. So let's say for what Raymond is saying that for our third template, we want to run I'm going to go back to our demo, our live demo, and I'm going to open up the third background. Yep, third background. And I'm going to select this one, make it a little smaller, right? I'm going to select this. Now, he had said you can use the same image or the same template and just run multiple sizes, right? So now, while yes, this one already has a different background, you've noticed I've actually made them different size. So you can offer multiple options. So now we look in our finished folder. No, we didn't do a lot of work, right? But now this girl has different options. All you're doing is sending in a different template each time. So hopefully that helps you guys. I'm gonna have to drop off. I am looking at doing this as a fairly consistent thing. I'm gonna shoot for at least once a month, but I'm gonna try for twice a month. So in about 2 weeks, I'm gonna look at doing this again. Feel free to reach out during the weeks or anytime. I will always help if I can. I do offer one-on-one training if you're having a need for that type of training. It's $50 an hour, but hopefully, you know, we can cover a lot in an hour. Because before we ever meet, I'll honestly give you homework. I will say, hey, go watch these videos, whether it's my YouTube channel or if it's videos from Damon or somebody else online. And then I'll have you compile your questions so that whenever we do meet, we hit the ground running and you get the best bang for your buck for that 50 bucks. But also, if it's not something you want to do, hey, write your questions down and bring it to the next office hours, and we'll see what we can do. So, thank you everybody for joining, and have a great day. See ya.